Today's Torah portion is Vayera, which means, and he appeared, in Genesis 18:1, and the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. So that's the word right here, Vayare. It's passive. It's actually the verb ra'ah, to see, but it's in passive, so he was seen to him, or he showed himself. It's translated, he showed himself. Vayare. So I'm going to break down this verse for you. It begins with the letter Vav. The Vav is a prefix meaning and. I have that in red. And he saw Elav, to him. The Vav as a suffix means him, so he appeared to him. That's the Lord, Yahweh. We have Be Eloneh. The letter Bet here means in. It's a picture of a house. It means inside. In the plains of Mamre. And he, there's that word, there's and again. Yoshev sat, and it just petach, which means the door, but it comes from the root patach, meaning open, so it's really an opening of the tent. The tent. The letter He here means the, it's prefix. Ohel, ha-ohel, is the tent. Kechom means like or as, so it's kind of like about the time of the heat of Hayom, the day. Kechom Hayom, the heat of the day. So, some neat things I noticed in this portion was, I think last time I talked to you about something called alliteration. Quick example is Peter Pepper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Hebrew does stuff like that all the time, where it uses similar sounding sounds in their words. And anytime you come across something that says like, I will certainly or surely, it's kind of doing this sort of thing. So in this case, when it says, I will certainly return, it says, shov ashuv. It's kind of like saying returning, I will return. Happens again here when it says, you shall surely die, talking about when God came to dream to Abimelech and tells him that surely he will die. That's a mot tamut. So shov ashuv, mot tamut. Here's another one when God's talking to Abraham, and he says, "Well, I withhold this thing that he's going to do to Sodom," and he says, "Surely he will become a great mighty nation." That's hayo yeheyeh. So the same kind of thing happening here. Said, and this is where they actually kind of translate it a little more like the way it is in Hebrew: "Blessing, I will bless you," and in multiplying, I will multiply your seed. And that is Barech Avarechecha Veharba Arbe. So that's just some neat stuff that I came across in there. All right, so one of the neat things about how Hebrew talks about time a lot of times is instead of just like giving you a number or time of day, they'll use something that appears kind of like an event of some sort, which I thought I didn't realize this till after I made the PowerPoint that, the name of this portion is "and he appeared," and I'm talking about how time is like an appearance of something. So in this case, instead of just saying what time of day, it says the heat of the day. Another example is Genesis 19:23, when it says the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. So it's using like a description of the time instead of just like saying a number or giving you time. Some other examples would be like when you read, it says at the shutting of the gate, or the time of figs. Using something cultural or the appearance of something to tell you the time. Here's when Abraham got up early. If you look that word up in your Strongs, you'll see that it means to incline, the shoulder to a burden, but literally to load up. That is to start early in the morning. So, in ancient times, when you gotta get up to work, you definitely want to get started as soon as possible because you don't want to be sitting around burning daylight. So the idea behind loading up, or getting ready for work, is related to the idea of getting ready. And another word we see from this word shacham is the word shechem, which is a neck or shoulder. It's translated shoulder. It pretty much means shoulder in modern Hebrew. So when the morning arose, that word morning there is the word shachar, which more means like the dawn. And that word comes from the word shachar, which means to dawn. It's also another word translated to be up early or get started early. A related word to this is the word shachor, and it's translated black in your Bible. And it's pretty much the modern Hebrew word for black, but it's related to this word because it properly means dusky, and the word it comes from is another word, shachar, identical. It's the duskiness of early dawn, to be dim or dark in color. So you can kind of see that shachar isn't so much morning, like 8 o'clock in the morning, it could still be light out. But when we see the dimness or duskiness, darkness, black, we see this is like really early, like it's still dark out in this case of this word. All right. So when the men came to Lot, and he has his 2 daughters, and everyone's trying to break down the door, and he says, only these men do nothing, for therefore they have come under the shadow of my roof. Lots of Hebrew words can have a positive or negative meaning to it. A lot of times we see the negative meaning in like the shadow of death or something, but shadows are really important in Hebraic thinking because they can represent healing or restoration or protection, as in this case, because when you're, out in the desert, I'm sure PJ will back me up on this, and I've never been to Israel, but I learned from people who have, it could be like 120 degrees outside in the desert, in the summer, but in the shadow it could be like up to 15 degrees or more cooler in the shadow. So that's a great place for rest. And so shadows in Hebraic thought can represent the idea of restoration, rest, or healing, stuff like that, protection. Some quick verses: keep me as the apple of your eye, hide me under the shadow of your wings. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful for my soul. Trust in thee. In the shadow of your wings, I make my refuge. And this one's the most interesting one. There shall be a tabernacle for a shadow, tent for a shadow. Protection, from heat and place of refuge, and from storm, from rain. It's kind of the same thing happened with Abraham in this portion when the men come to him and they say, rest under the tree, because there's a shadow under there, and they're in the heat of the day. Let's see. So let's just talk about a couple names of things that appeared here. We have Beersheba. In Hebrew, that's pronounced Be'er-sheva. Be'er means a well, and the word sheva there is the word for 7. And it comes from root. It's the word sheva, which means 7. It comes from the root shava, which means to be complete, or to 7 oneself, that is, to swear something. Because remember, Abraham brought 7 sheep, and they made a covenant with Abimelech. And so Beersheba would mean the well of 7. So that's what Beersheba means. And this is kind of weird that I'm even talking about this, but there was this guy named Pichol. This guy, Abimelech's chief captain of the host. I'll talk about what his name means, because if you look it up, it says mouth of all. Mouth of all, which seems kind of weird, don't you think? So you could see the word for mouth in Hebrew is pei, and you can see that there. That's the word pei. When you have the blank of something in Hebrew, it becomes what's known as the construct state, and it could change pronunciation. So the mouth of in Hebrew is P. And the word chol there is the word kol, which means all. So when you mash it all together, it becomes pichol, means the mouth of all. That, kind of a weird name or title, if you will, but if we understand that Hebrew is concrete and not so much abstract, we could find in the verse Numbers 14:41 when Moses said, "Wherefore now do you transgress the commandment of the Lord?" That word there is the word pei. It's the word mouth. Why do you transgress the mouth of the Lord? What He says, what His commands, what He said to do. So with that, if you put that idea, this guy Pichol, he's kind of like the commander. Everything that he says, whatever he says out of his mouth, that's what you do. So I just thought that was kind of neat in his name. All right, I'm just going to break down this verse for you. Just read it and go letter by letter in this. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed because you have obeyed my voice. He's speaking to Abraham. First word here is v'hit baruchu. So we have and then this is the root barach, which means to bless. When you see this word heat as a prefix in a verb conjugation, that makes it reflexive. So the idea is kind of like, God said, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. But then he says that, the nations will bless him and he will bless, all the nations will be blessed by him. So it's kind of this reflexive idea of blessing and being blessed. Next word is bizaracha. We have the word in again. And it's the word zera, but when it gets with all kinds of prefixes and suffixes, the vowels change and it becomes zaracha. So in seed your, that means your. So in your seed, kol, that was the same word we saw in that guy's name, pichol, all, goye, like the goyim, construct state. So these are the nations of the earth, and then aretz means earth. Then we have the word ekev, which means, it's kind of an unusual word for because, but like the name Yaakov, Jacob, right? It has to do with the heel. So this word is kind of related to the idea of a heel because this word ekev comes from the root akav, which kind of means like to track. In fact, in modern Hebrew, this word means like a footstep. So the idea is this, is tracking this, the next thing. I like how, like in Hebrew, all the even grammatical words will have like a cool meaning behind them. So, all the earth being blessed is being followed by this. Okay, asher means which. Shamata, shama is the root meaning to hear. Ta means you heard, and then we have be koli, in voice my. Yod is a suffix meaning my, so in my voice. All right, that's it. Shabbat shalom, everybody.